Good morning. Welcome to the podcast. It starts at 8:46 Pacific Standard Time. Eight 8:46 in Southern California. Good morning. It is Monday morning. Welcome to the Daily Dawn video podcast because I really suck, looking, you know, on video, I guess. Um, Welcome to whatever we're doing. If you are watching us live on YouTube, we are at Radio Dawn 1. If you are watching us live on Twitch, we are at Radio Dawn 55. And you know where you are if you're watching us on Facebook. And basically, this is just a check-in to let you know that I'm all right and all that sort of stuff. It's been a really weird week for me, and I've made a decision that I am going to try to take things one day at a time. It's really going to be rough for me because my counselor slash therapist slash best human friend in the whole wide world is going to be going on vacation for 2 weeks, leaving me all by myself. In other words, you are my therapy for 2 weeks. You've been warned. Prices and bills are going up, so if you can help us out by putting a little something in our piggy bank, there are two ways you can do it. PayPal.me/Radio Dawn. That is scrolling on the bottom of your screen. Also, the Cash App, and where you can follow us. We're still not live on Twitter yet, simply because they haven't figured out how to connect the things there, so we can't go live on Twitter yet through StreamYard. We can still do that through HAPS, but we'll get to that a little bit. To those people who are stopping by live, thank you very much. You can also, and it's not live yet, but once we set things up after the podcast, there'll be a little heart there on PayPal where you can give what they call super thanks. $2, $5, $10 would really help out. So, what do we talk about today? I'm a game show lover. I have loved game shows ever since the beginning of my life. Maybe because I spent a lot of time at home watching all the game shows that were on TV. And, you get used to people who do things well. People like Tom Kennedy, people like Bob Barker before he did what he did to Holly Hallstrom, um, Dennis James, and Wink Martindale, and all the great game show hosts. So we've run out of game show hosts, and we're finding that out with what is going on with Jeopardy. There are really no great game show hosts left to host game show hosts. I mean, they're good ones. You know, I think, for instance, Elizabeth Banks, who's hosting uh, the ABC version of Pressure Luck, is a really great game show host. She's really good at what she does. Same with Kristen Bell, but then again, Kristen Bell can do anything. Um, but the Jeopardy situation basically shows exactly how incompetent some people really are in terms of picking hosts and how they pick hosts. The whole thing, for instance, with Mike Richards, it is amazing how people will go back in time and cherry pick certain things that people have said years before and say, "Oh my God, he must have been, he may be that then, he's probably that now." I mean, I don't see anybody going back and trying to cancel Pat Sajak for the things that he has been saying recently on his website. He's a very conservative person, but Pat Sajak is smart enough to know when to say these things, how to say the things that he says. And I also think that Pat Sajak is incredibly good at what he does. As they were going through the auditions last few weeks, obviously the best of the bunch was Ken Jennings, who started the thing out, for 3 weeks. He probably got the best audition of all of the guest hosts on Jeopardy. But he's busy with other things. I mean, he's one of the chasers on the ABC version of the Chase. He's also one of the experts on that substandard game show called Masterminds. And by the way, that's not an American version of the British Masterminds. That's something for just to fill a half an hour of time on Game Show Network. So he really can't do that job. They selected Mayim Bialik, the former Blossom, to do the nighttime versions because Mike Richards is going to be doing the daytime version. But now Mike's out because of things he said on a podcast years ago. Now they want to get rid of Mayim because, of something that she said almost 10 years ago in terms of vaccinations. 9 years ago, she said on a blog that she was writing, or maybe something she said on YouTube, that after careful consideration, they decided that she and her husband at the time decided that their kids were not going to get vaccinated 9 years ago. Since then, she has changed her position on this. Her kids are now vaccinated. She is vaccinated twice. Yet there are people who want to take her off Jeopardy because of things she may have said and believed 9 years ago. I mean, we are so cancel crazy that, we will cancel you for things you may have said, when you were 10 years old. It's purity or nothing. So I posted on Twitter, I stand by Blossom because man played Blossom back in the day. The only reason why Mayhem's not, the full time host is that she's doing a show called Call Me Cat, which she not only stars in, but she's the executive producer of. But she signed up to do the Jeopardy specials, like the college championship that's going to be on ABC and a few other things. And I kind of mentioned that Richards took the nighttime job, the syndicated job, basically as a holding thing until Fox cancels Call Me Cat. And that way, when Mayhem is free from doing that, she can take over as permanent host of Jeopardy. That's what I thought. Now they have to find a new host, and here is where the part where we've run out of game show hosts comes in. Everybody and his brother wants Joe. Now I forget the guy's name. The guy who played Kunta Kinte in Roots. And if you can remember that, I'm going to turn on the thing here. But he hosted Reading Rainbow back in the day, and there are a whole bunch of people who remember him, and he say, "Oh, he could be a great host on Jeopardy." It's a game show, guys. He never hosted a game show with real contestants and stuff like that. And his first night was a disaster. He got a little better. Everybody still wants him to be the host. God, the Alzheimer's is sitting. I can't remember the guy's name. Forgive me, okay? I will probably mention that. But and anyway, he can't host, but everybody wants him as host because of nostalgia. The problem is that we don't have anybody who's really good to host Jeopardy anymore. We really don't. I'm afraid for Wheel of Fortune when Pat has to go. Because they'll probably, find some. Well, if Family Feud can get a sassy black host to host that show and it's successful, and good Lord, Steve Harvey is good at his job. He's overexposed, but he is really good at his. I mean, good night, nurse. I mean, half of YouTube is filled with all those wonderful Family Feud bloopers. We'll just see if we can get Dave Chappelle to host Family Feud. I mean, to host a Wheel of Fortune when Pat has to go away. What CBS and Sony should have done is when Pat Sajak walked into the door and said, "Guys, I just came back from the doctor. They said that I have this thing and I might not make it to the end of my contract. You might want to start looking for somebody else." They should have had somebody who could be a guest host, a permanent guest host, And that person could have easily transitioned so we would have a smooth transition. But CBS didn't do that. Sony didn't do that. Mike Richards, who is still the executive producer, didn't do that. They screwed up. So now we are stuck with the possibility of someone who's never hosted a game show before hosting one of the biggest franchises in all of game show history. No, maybe that person will be good. I mean, uh, Drew Carey, had to get good at his job after a couple of years. And by the way, Mike Richards was the executive producer of The Price is Right when that happened. But you also have to remember that Drew Carey had hosted a game show, Power of 10. He hosted that show. He also hosted a couple of other things on the CW and the WB, not to mention Whose Line Is It Anyway? You know something who could have been a good game show host? The person who's hosting Whose Line Is It Anyway now? Alicia. She could make a great game show host. Stephanie Miller, who does progressive talk radio, she could be a great host. All the great hosts used to come from radio. So the soap opera continues. We will keep you posted. Why could I not remember the guy's name? I should take notes and read from the notes before I do these things. Oh, man. Anyway, for the person who is still with us, thank you very much for hanging with us. It's 9:02 on a Monday. We'll probably be back later. Anyway, I got to clean up the apartment. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk soon. Take care.